Um, as I said, 22 days until we get to training camp here. Um, I want to say this to you before we get going, because I'm going to talk about the Washington Commanders. That's week 4's opponent. We've been kind of going over some of the teams that they're going to play. So let me get this right. The National Football League decided to turn around over the holidays and blame the Philadelphia Eagle players for the type of footing that they used in the Super Bowl. How absolutely pathetic can you get that you would blame football teams for shitty surfaces? So let me get this right. The Eagles play on different surfaces all throughout the year, have no footing issues. Now I know it was a problem, and I am going to make it as an excuse. And by the way, maybe Kansas City didn't play their best game too. Remember something. This is a 4-point ball game. This isn't like a blowout where one team completely dominated. Maybe one slip here, one slip there. You don't know. Maybe one sack that didn't happen. Maybe that could have been the difference in the game. You don't know. Right? For the National Football League to come out and tell Eagle fans that you chose the wrong cleats is asinine. Are you trying to tell me a National Football League player who's played, how many years do you think, if you've played 5 years of NFL football, how many years of football have you played from the time you were 10 years old till the time you're 25? Think about that. You've played over 20 years maybe, if you're even younger, of football, playing in all kinds of different types of weather and on different surfaces. I've played on dirt, grass, cinder, AstroTurf, natural grass, the budded turf. I've played on it all. I know what the footing is. And you're going to turn around and tell the Eagles, no, that was you. Man. I mean, what a lame-ass excuse for the failure of putting together a football field that was not conducive and not respectable for a game as big as the Super Bowl. I thought that was really stupid, man. Leave it alone. Now you're just going to start really just firing all this shit up. You were incompetent. You see how the National Football League doesn't like to admit to failure? There's a prime example of it. And by the way, that's why I'm bringing it up. The NFL, they hate admitting to failure. They'd rather lie. That's a prime example of lying. I mean, well, it was the players' fault. Of course it was. Just like everything else, it's the players' fault. It's the equipment managers who are trained professionals and make a killing doing that didn't have the understanding of your shitty turf. The Philadelphia Eagles have every right now to complain because the NFL threw darts at you. You have every right to fire back and challenge that comment from the league. I'm not saying it would have been the outcome of the game, but you're freaking lying. And every Philadelphia fan knows it. I don't give a shit about the Chief fans here. They won the game. They're going to be cool. But if they had lost the game, I guarantee you they'd be bitching the same way. Bro, why would you blame the players? Because that's what the NFL does. That's what the NFL does, man. They constantly lie like that and blame the players. You can't be any shittier. You can't. Can't be any shittier, man, than what that was. Blaming the players for the footing. Okay? Terrible. All right. I want to get into the Commanders, your week 4 opponent, October 1st. Let me put this out there to you. How good do you think the Washington Commanders are going to be? Yeah, hey guys, don't ever let the NFL, dude. Hey Tone, everyone, did you guys go over to NFL.com like I told you to during the holidays and see how they effed over Jalen Hurts when they were talking about 25 or under 25. They changed it. Jalen Hurts is the only guy that had an asterisk under why they didn't pick him over Trevor Lawrence. He's the only guy. Total disrespect for Jalen Hurts. You should have said 25 and under. And you didn't really have, you know what, too, Tone? Like Tone says, they really didn't have to because he's 24 right now until August 7th. They really didn't have to. Right? They really didn't even have to go 25 and under. They could have went under 25. Okay? He was still 24. He's 24 right now. But at the end of the day, they put an asterisk on. This is why we didn't choose Jalen. That's why you didn't choose Jalen Hurts as your young and up-and-coming stars. The league refused to really put him out there as a potential face of the league. You think it's better to promote Trevor Lawrence than Jalen Hurts. That's the league talking, not me. That's the league talking. The league doesn't want to promote Jalen Hurts. They'll promote the story, but not him as a potential face. He'll never be the face of the league, even if he wins a Super Bowl. Never happen. That's not who they think represents what the league. I think he's completely what the league represents. Oh, and by the way, you know, you guys, Tone and James posted something for me last time we were on the air where he's cut out of the same cloth. That has nothing to do with how I see his career progressing. He is a hard worker. He is smart. He is a guy that wants to be better. But there's a ton of guys that want that in the NFL. There's a ton of guys. It's not ass-kissing. That's who his character is. You can have all those intangibles and not be good. You can have all those intangibles and not make it. And you could have none of those tangibles and make it. Okay? You can have all of those. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be an NFL star because you study hard, you study long, you're in the laboratory. That doesn't mean you're going to be an NFL star. Look at how fast the Roman candle was for Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz was a shooting star. Man, it came and it went. There's a ton of careers in NFL history that have been exactly like that. Like a Roman candle, came and went. That's Carson Wentz's career. That doesn't necessarily mean you're going to be a star in this league. Okay? Still, some of your guests make your show even better, if that's possible. Thanks, Sills, for giving Philly different voice. Oh, absolutely. Philly for Ford. Thank you so much. You know what's funny, too, Philly? Tone goes like this. Where do you get these guys from? Like Chuck Todd wants to come on. But don't give me your political spin. But Chuck Todd is a friend of mine who went to school with me at the University of Miami. So, and like many of you out there who judge a person by their politics or their affiliations to religion or politics, I don't. I don't care what your religion is or your politics. If you're my friend, you're my friend. Hey, you know what's funny? I had a guy tweet me, you think Jerome Brown would be my friend today? Are you under the assumption that Jerome Brown and I didn't argue in the locker room over political views and protests and other things, and that the University of Miami locker room was just like nobody bitching at one another, wrestling matches, boxing matches, fun arguments? Are you guys under some impression that went on, that everybody thought alike? You'd be crazy. There were a lot of personalities in that locker room. Okay? Barb, that's right, man. You respect people. You see, Barb, here's the difference and why we get a lot of folks on. You respect everybody for who they are and what they are, not what I want them to be. So many people in this world want people to be like them and think like them. I'll never do that. Okay? And that's why these folks like me. And we're friends. It's because I don't judge you by, any of that. I don't care about your politics. If you have a different opinion of me, so be it. All right. Speaking of politics, D.C. How many people think in week 4, October 1st? By the way, this football team beat the Eagles at full strength. The Commanders a year ago beat you guys at full strength. Quarterback was in. Everybody was there. Wasn't like you guys had an excuse to lose to Washington. They beat you. Of all the teams, there were only 2 teams that really beat the Eagles last year. Washington and the Chiefs. Okay? Washington beat you pretty good, too. I mean, they handled that game. Didn't have a lot of stats. Took care of the turnover ratio part of the game. And took you out with Tyler Heineke. There were no excuses for you to lose that Washington game. You have none. Okay? Divisional opponent. Okay. Common themes of knowing what trends are. Okay. True. I get it. How many people think this Washington team is going to be good this year? New ownership, obviously from Daniel Snyder to Josh Harris this month around the 20th. That will be finally finalized. And I don't know what that means for Ron Rivera. I would think this is probably a pretty huge year for him. I'll tell you this, it's a pretty good coaching staff. Do they have the best coaching staff in the NFC East? Washington Commanders. Yes. Let me think. Brian Dable. They have Eric Bieniemy, Jack Del Rio, Ron Rivera. I think Washington's got the best coaching staff in the NFC East. They have the most accomplished guys. They got guys in that room that have NFC championship rings, Super Bowl rings. Let's not forget Rivera also played on the 85 Bears. Okay, he's been a coordinator, went to Super Bowls as a coordinator, put a team in the NFC championship game and won it in Carolina and went to a Super Bowl, won a division title. He's got just as many division titles as Nick Sirianni does in the NFC East. They got a pretty good coaching staff. Eric Bieniemy's got a couple Super Bowl rings as offensive coordinator in Kansas City under Andy Reid. Same place that Andy Reid cut his chops with, or Doug Peterson cut his chops. I mean, it's a pretty good coaching staff in Washington. Probably the best coaching staff in the NFC East. So you're going to have to be prepared against Washington this year. Okay? 5-star. So you think a first-year coordinator on both sides of the ball, Nick Sirianni, are better than Ron Rivera and Eric Bieniemy and Jack Del Rio? You think that? Jesus. Tony goes, Eric Bieniemy, though, is sort of an unknown. That's the whole argument for him not being a head coach. Wasn't that the argument when Doug Peterson was in Kansas City when he got the Eagle job? Angelo, appreciate it. Thank you so much, my friend. Simona State, thank you. Thank you. You are correct. Washington's got a pretty good coaching staff. Let's just end it there. The Carson Wentz experiment failed a year ago. Now they're down to Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett. Man, is that better than San Francisco? Sam Howell, Jacoby Brissett? I mean, Jacoby Brissett can win games. Okay? But Jesus, Sam Howell, really? Defense is really good. Front four's back. And they have some components on the defensive side of the ball, Washington. This is all going to come down to the quarterback play, though, in Washington. I personally agree. And the Commanders are going to have to get quarterback play. Do they make the playoffs? Probably not. And that'll probably cost Rivera his gig. And I could see Eric Bieniemy taking over as head coach. Okay? So, I mean, Washington, if I were going to put a number on Washington, 7-10, I think they have talent. Now, if we get a surprise from the quarterback play, they could make the playoffs. But it's just such an unknown on what they're going to get from that position. And it's been that way. You want to hear this? It's actually been that way in Washington since Kirk Cousins has left Washington. They have not gotten stability at that position since Cousins left. Washington's not been able to replace Kirk Cousins. They've not been able to replace him. You know, that goes to the point of how good that kid is, Kirk Cousins. Washington hasn't been able to defend it. And the fact that they haven't been able to get good quarterback play. They just haven't. Now, it's funny that we just talked that way about the Washington Commanders. How much pressure's on this coaching staff this year? A lot of turnover. There are a lot of blinking lights in Philly. Follow me when I say this. There's a lot of blinking lights. And what I mean by that is coaches are new. The depth's not really there, especially on the defensive side. Here is really an overview of the Eagles. Man, that offense looks good. Let's start with the good. Man, that offense looks good. Hurts' decision-making is probably going to be better than it was a year ago, clearly better than 2 years ago. Can A.J. Brown put another year together like that, back-to-back? Will Devontae continue to improve? What's Goddard going to look like with a full year in this offense? Could he be the star? What's DeAndre Swift's role going to be? Those are all good questions, but they're not negative. You know, obviously the right guard, who's taking over for Seumalo, who's going to be a loss. Are you going to be able to get some of the offensive production that you got out of Miles Sanders a year ago from your collection of running backs? Okay, right? Those aren't like going to cripple you, though, those moves. The right guard being lost is a big deal. It's a big deal. The running back, because you have that offensive line, could Swift be an 800 rushing guy and a 500, 600-yard catch guy? Yes. Could he kind of equal up all the yards that Miles got? Yeah, and maybe some help too with Gainwell. You probably are going to be around the same room. So it's not really a cliff dive, you know, that you're falling off the cliff here, losing Sanders. Seumalo will be, but I think you got enough depth and you got an offensive line coach that can plug that dam. So you're good there. The coordinator loss, I'm not so much all twisted up over that because, you know, RPO is a different style of offense. The quarterback really is the guy making the decisions. He's the guy really that's your play caller and decision maker in game. So you're not really looking at the offense going like this if you're the Eagles. Okay? On the other side, though, you're going to need coaching. You're going to need coaching. And I would say this to you. What do you do in the exhibition season? Do you play your younger guys? Do you play Nakobe Dean? Let me ask you this, Yale. Tone. So a guy who's never really played NFL middle linebacker, he's not going to play any exhibition ball? and you're just going to plug him in the opening game versus the Patriots, who are going to try to do everything to confuse him. You think that guy's going to outthink Bill Belichick? That would be a mistake. He'll have that kid's head on a swivel the same way Andy Reid had your corners and your safeties on a swivel in the Super Bowl. Do you play him? Do you play Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis in the exhibition season? These guys need reps, game tempo reps. Proven guys shouldn't play, says Ty. Yeah, look. Hey, Ty, I'm not putting Lane Johnson out there. I'm not putting Jason Kelce out there. That's funny, too. If Jason Kelce's not playing the exhibition season, where's Cam Jordan? Where's Cam Jurgens playing? Is he playing guard or center? What's he going to play? Guard or center? You're not going to play him during the exhibition season at center, are you? He needs reps at guard. Who plays the center position during the exhibition season? So he's not going to get reps at his natural position? Okay. Ben, I'm asking questions, though. I'm not. How do you play these young guys? Are you going to play Sidney Brown? You know, and the Eagles don't like to play anybody. Look, I'm not playing A.J. Brown. Probably not playing Goddard. I'm probably not playing DeAndre Swift. I'm not playing Hurts. Okay? I'm going to get more of my mental reps in the team combination practices, the organized team practices with other teams. That's probably where I'm going to get more of my evaluation on those guys because it's a controlled environment. Okay? That's kind of more of a controlled environment. So you're going to need coaching on the defensive side of the ball. I'll tell you what, I'm going to make a prediction here to you. Those defensive coaches on that side of the ball got 10 times more pressure on them than the offensive coaches do. Jalen Hurts needs guardrails. Jalen Hurts just needs to have someone in his ear helping him look at the game in case he missed something. They don't need him really being told where to go with the ball. Jalen's going to make that decision. On the defensive side of the ball, you're going to have to put a scheme up that's conducive to being inexperienced. You got an inexperienced football team on that side of the ball, and it's up the middle. So I'm going to run the ball right at you until you prove it. Because the last 2 years you haven't proven you could stop the run. So I'm going to run it right at you. What does Sean Desai do to stop that? Your tackles get knocked off the ball like they have the last 2 years. You've been down between the middle and the back end against the run the last 2 years. You're not very good at it. Okay? You're not very good at it. And you're going to be playing against better quarterbacks who do what? Better play action. Okay? Plus, you're going to be looking at play action here. These quarterbacks are going to be pretty decent. I'll tell you that Patriot game is going to be a great test because what is New England? New England runs the ball. They're going to run the ball. You know what? They could have 38 running attempts in that game because you know what their key is going to be? We're 21 days out from training camp. Let me tell you what the New England Patriots are doing right now. They're going to have 38 attempts in that game one. They're going to keep that thing in third and short if they can. They're going to go to tight ends. They're going to want to get that game into the fourth quarter, and they're going to want to try to beat you in the fourth quarter like they almost beat Brady when he went back up to New England, and it was off the goalpost. Remember, Belichick almost beat Brady a year ago, early, before all those injuries happened with the Bucs. Was off the goalpost. He almost beat him with that shitty Patriots team. Okay? They got a pretty good young running back up there. I can't think of him who he is right now. Okay? But That's going to be a great test. It's going to be Sean Desai versus Bill O'Brien. Okay? All the running backs should play. Let's be honest. Probably. I'm good with that. Oh, that's nice, 4x4. Thank you so much, man. If we really watch and listen, Dan Sileo by himself for 3+ hours of content is one of. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you very much. You know what? Hey, I think I was born just to be a big mouth. Patricia's going to be very instrumental in the game preparation against New England. So again, what coach do you think is under the most heat here? I think it's Desai. I do. As he gets ready for training camp, who do you play in these games? Who do you want to see? I want to see sit here. I'm going to put that down right now. Here's who I want to see in exhibition football if I'm Sean Desai. Okay? If I'm Sean Desai, I want to see Nakobe Dean. I want to see Jordan Davis. Do I need to see Josh Sweat or Hassan Reddick? I don't need to see Reddick. Do I need to see Sweat? Probably not. Probably not. Do I need to see Milton Williams? Yes. Because he might be my rotation guy. I need to see Merle play. I need to see Sidney Brown play. I don't need to see any of my starting corners play. I want to see Avonte Maddox play. And I want to see Avonte Maddox play at the corner position. I want to see Maddox at the corner. I want to see a Reed Blankenship too. So I'm playing Avonte Maddox, Reed Blankenship, Milton Williams, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter. I'm playing these guys probably 2 games. Rest of them, after that, I can make the evaluations. All I would need is probably 2 games to put these guys in certain circumstances, and then the organized team activities with the other teams and those controlled practices would probably be all I would need to sit there and go, okay, this is what we have here. This is what we don't have. Because those coaches right now, I don't think the coaches even know what they're going to run right now. You don't have enough linebackers even to go to camp. By the way, we got a list of some of the free agents that are still out there. But, dude, your linebacking core is so inexperienced and not good. And remember, that means the pressure's on the tackles. And if they're new faces like Jordan and Jay, so you have Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter in there. Okay? And they start running complex blocking schemes on them. And they get pushed off the ball, which they did a year ago. And your linebacking core is the worst part of your entire team. Get this. Your linebacking core is worse than your running back room. That's the worst part of the Eagles is your linebackers. They are your worst part of your team. I'm good with Swift. Okay? And I'm probably good with Gainwell, those 2 guys. Okay? I'm probably good with those 2. I'm all right. That's not tremendous. Okay? I like Swift. Can he stay? All that. I'm not going over that. But the linebacking room is atrocious. The linebacking room also tells you a little bit about your special teams, too. Because if you're not very good at linebacker, that means usually your special teams is not very deep. And they're not. So they don't have people on the practice squad they could just elevate into putting on the big club and get you ready for Sundays. Eagles are terrible at linebacker. Okay? James goes, still y'all doing pretty good on making it rebuild. Linebacker needs another guy. Mateo, they need a playmaking guy. So again, for 23, I think there's going to be an awful lot of pressure that needs to be put on Sean Desai, in my opinion. And I'll tell you what, people are not going to be happy. What did they run? Are they going to run the same type of umbrella defense that they ran a year ago? Most organizations are trending that way. So when they open training camp in 22 days, I think we're going to see a little bit of the same what we saw a year ago and over the last 2 years. So they're going to just try to once again plug and play in that system. Keep them at bay. Don't get anything crazy. Try to get home. Try to get turnovers. And that's the style of defense. They're not going to be aggressive on defense. The Eagles don't have the players to be aggressive on defense. Listen, here's why you can't be aggressive on defense. You don't have as many playmakers as you did a year ago. I mean, whatever you want to say about Kaiser White and TJ Edwards, that's 300 tackles gone. Okay? That's 300. Epps was decent. He was a good player. You lost that depth. So we'll see. I think more points are going to be put up on that defense. Then there's going to be more pressure on Desai and maybe even Howie to make some moves here. We'll get to the moves in a second. I want to ask you a question about Dak. We had Joy Taylor on at the beginning of the program. What do you want to see from, or how about this? What do football fans, because this is kind of hard for Eagle fans, and again, don't apply it to the Eagle game. What do you want to see from Dak Prescott in 2023? What do you want to see from him? What would be a successful season for Dak? Look, do I think they have to win the Super Bowl? No. No, I don't. What do you want to see from Dak Prescott to make it so Jerry Jones feels good about himself starting a contract extension conversation with him? What do you think the Cowboys have to see from Prescott this year? Getting to the championship game? Him making it to the NFC title game? Eagles are doing really good on making defensive pass. It's the rushing. Hurts is great with that. Win big games. Yale, anyone. What do you think the Cowboys need to see from Dak Prescott in 2023? Because today, on July 5th, I don't feel good about talking contract extension with Dak. I don't feel good about it. I feel like I'm being forced once again into it. Interceptions must come down, get those turnovers down. He has to win division, says Joey. NFC championship game or bust. Okay, you think you guys are... Here's what I want to see from Dak that gives me hope. Dude, you got to outplay Hurts. You've got to outplay Hurts. Or I got to find someone who can. You've got to outplay him. You've been great against the Eagles. But you need to be great when you're not just playing the Eagles. You got to outplay him, which means you got to take your team further than him. For me to feel comfortable and pushing that gamut on talking contract extension, because let's be fair here. The last 2 years, there's no question the Eagles feel better about Jalen Hurts than the Cowboys have to feel about Dak Prescott. Is that fair? I mean, the Cowboys have won back-to-back 12-win seasons for the first time in a long time. Correct? But why do I feel when I look at Dak Prescott, why do I feel Like, the last 2 years, I'm not satisfied. And yet when I look at Jalen, and I'm not just talking about getting to the Super Bowl, I'm talking about watching him elevate his game. Has Dak elevated his game? Has he elevated his game? Jerry Jones would rather have Hurts than Dak. I don't think so. Okay? I don't. Because Dak's going to put up more passing yards than Jalen ever will. When those two guys end their careers, Dak will have more passing yards than Hurts in his career. That's what he does. Dallas wants to run it, but they also like throwing the football too. And they want to get it down the field. Yeah. So, I mean, he's put up big numbers too, Prescott. But he's got to outplay Jalen. He's got to get and win ball games in the postseason here. For me to go like this, let me start talking about contract extension with him. Dak is 5 years older than Hurts, I think. Okay. But here, Yale, this is the second big contract. We're talking about at the end of the year, he'll be going into his final year of his deal. Do you start? If I'm the Cowboys, I don't know where I am right now with him. I don't know where I am. Would you trade him for a first rounder? You'd probably get a first rounder for Dak. At the end of the year, if you're not going anywhere, would you trade him? Tennessee, they're going to need a quarterback. Would you trade him to Minnesota? What do they do with Cousins' deal? I mean, where am I going? You have to get to a point where it goes like this, the same way that the Las Vegas Raiders went with Derek Carr. Where are we going? Where are we going? David Dalrymper goes, I would much rather have Hurts. Well, not against the Cowboys or the Eagles, because at the end of the day, Dak Prescott's 8-3 versus the Eagles. He doesn't lose to you guys. If he wins both games this year, he's 10-3. Even if he splits, he's 9-4, which will probably be the case. Dude, that's a great record versus Philadelphia, who's been the best team in the NFC East. Okay? You have a losing record versus Prescott as a starting quarterback. Significant losing record. Significant. Okay? Going 12-5, I think the Cowboys would probably be in that conversation too. Somewhere in 12-5. Yeah, where Prescott is better than Hurts, Jalen's not going to follow up a shitty game with a shitty game. Okay? Or follow up a great game with a shitty game. Jalen stays kind of right here. He'll go like this, if anything, right? He trends up. What was Jalen Hurts' worst game, not counting the playoffs, because he was hurt during the playoffs? What do you think his worst game was last year? Washington? The second Washington game? Maybe the Chicago game? I mean, right? Maybe the final Giants game? Not the playoff game, no, because I thought he was banged up in that game. I'm talking at the end of the year, he was still banged up, though. Okay? Maybe the Washington game? I didn't think he played awful in that game either. Probably Chicago, because that's when he got banged up and hurt. Colts, he wasn't great. Dude, but Jalen, he didn't do this, This is Dak. Up and down and pendulum swings. They're too big. Okay, maybe the Indy offense struggled in that. That's right. That thing came down to kind of the last couple minutes of that. Cue Ball the Bird, how you doing, brother? All right, I got to take a timeout. Thank you, Cue Ball. My friend Gary Cobb's going to come on at 4:30 Eastern like he always does. We're 22 days from training camp, okay? There are some unsigned free agents that Howie could pluck from. I want to see if anybody kind of sparks your interest here. We're going to do that next. Keep it here on the National Football